Let's talk about the uncomfortable. I'm going to talk about college life. Very few people talk about it. They may talk about it, but a lot of time, a lot of college stuff get buried. Or, you may have a friend too that can remember or relate to stuff that happened to them. I'm going to tell you about another story, and this will help young ladies that are going after school. You can be the most beautiful personality inside. You can be the most outgoing person. You can be beautiful on the outside or inside. Doesn't make a difference. There will always be someone that will be attracted to you, whether if it's to your desire or not. There's different kind of young men out here, and they're raised differently. Every household is raised different. From the only baby, only sons, to a lot of sons. It doesn't make a difference. But what happens is knowing the background of a family. And unfortunately, you don't have to know the person for it to be attacked. You do not have to know a person to be attracted to someone. Some men, some boys do not know how to communicate or how to ask. So they do what they have been taught or seen in their own household, whether if it's right or wrong. I was very small and petite. I was probably about 125, and I might be pushing it in my freshman year in college. And this probably was going into my second semester in college. Now, during this time, I went off to college, and I was living on the dorm. And luckily, I had a best friend, and her brother, Charles and Samantha, was my best friends in college life. They was from Louisiana. I miss them. Shreveport, Louisiana. I miss them, but we lost each other, and I don't know where they are. After you leave college, things happen. People grow and move on. But anyway, Charles was my best friend's at that time brother, and he witnessed the whole thing. An athlete came up to me. He had been trying to talk to me all semester long, and probably the semester, but I wasn't interested in him. And I never led him on. I never did anything to him but say, hello, how you doing? I carry on conversation. He asked something, but for us being in a relationship, I never gave any vibes off. You will run across men that they will genuinely like you, but they don't know how to like you appropriately. And some men don't accept no. And they usually have aggressive behavior. But the person that I am, I'm different. Because I can't help what may happen to other women. But I remember I was standing on the step of Dogan Hall. I was so angry, furious. So the guy got mad because I wasn't interested in him. He came up to the dorm, and even before I told him, no, I'm not interested in you, or whatever the case may be. For whatever day, he decided to call me a bitch. Now, me being from the southern South, and then being from Texas, and then having Oklahoma roots, and then if you knew my mom, ass whooping came from men. It doesn't make a difference if you was male or female. You got out of line with her, and she was just 4'11". She took no ass whoopings, but she gave plenty. And just say that. And I probably have a little of that in me, but I don't just physically bother anybody. And so he called me a bitch, and so I said, your mama's a bitch if I'm a bitch. Because it's so common that men, because that's the household that they brought in, or sometimes they're not even raised like that because they're doing what others do. They get comfortable in calling another lady out of her name, or a young lady out of name, because they can't get their way. So I'm a bitch. So in my regards, if I am a bitch, your mama's a bitch. So he decided to hit me. He got offended because I said, your mama, if I'm a bitch, your mama's a bitch. How is it that you can open your mouth as a man and call me a bitch and your mama's not a bitch? You ain't in no sexual relation to me. We ain't never kissed. We ain't never hugged. We ain't intimate. We ain't anything. It's just that you like me. You're attracted. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to someone, but knowing when to cut the fucking button off when someone's not interested. Learning to be a friend and accepting no is the issue. So when he hit me, I actually knocked the hell out of him. But I was so furious that day. I couldn't believe this Negro. That's the feeling I felt. This Negro. And those men get offended, but that's what he was acting like. You know, a Negro doesn't have to be a skin tone. It can be any nationality of a Negro. When you act a fool, you are a Negro. No matter who you are. So, I was so angry that day. I couldn't even calm down. I proceeded to go get a tree branch. When it wasn't no little one, I was going to take it in that cafeteria and beat the hell out of him. Luckily, Samantha friend, he let me get my punch in, and I popped him in his face so hard. He said, dang, you got a good old uppercut, you know. But he broke it up and told boy to go on. He said, Karen, what did you do? I said, I'm not interested in him. I don't know what's his problem. See, sometimes you got to understand as women, you still have to protect yourself at all costs, because even though he may have been a good person, but he wasn't a person for me. And based on his behavior, he has a problem with women and the chain of authority of women. He has a problem with women because he feels comfortable in calling women that he does not even know out of their name. I may be catty, I may be bitch-like, but it doesn't give you a right to call me a bitch. I may not be interested in you, and if I say no, I'm not interested, you should learn how to accept it and dial your pride down. Dial your pride down. Because I never was disrespectful to him. I never gave him the stank eye, say, you ugly, this and that. He wasn't an unattractive person. I just wasn't interested in him. He was on the basketball team. See, sometimes people get in sports and activities and they get this false persona because some girls are so easy to open their legs, and so they assume that every girl gonna want to holler at them because they're an athlete. That's not so. Love me for who I am. Accept me if I accept you as a friend, and nothing more. But it doesn't want. Do not get offended if someone holler back out the same thing towards your family or female figure in your family. Because at the end of the day, that may be your mother, but I'm still a woman, a female, a girl, and I still have a vagina just like your mom, and we birth children out of these birth canals, regardless, one day or sooner, for those that can. So, and even out of that, you need to get in your sexual emotions in check and separate it from your physical emotions and your mental emotions. A lot of times, some men, but not all men, are raised to be abrasive towards women because that's what they see at home. And sometimes women allow it because they think it's acceptable for men to be abrasive and aggressive towards them. They are taught not to say no to men. But there's good women out here ain't putting up with that bullshit. And while you're in college, you got to think about that. Watch your surroundings, because there will be people, males, that will be interested in you and you're not interested in them. So you just have to learn to get yourself in a safe place and be around people that someone's around at all times, because that will prevent something sexual from happening to you, and it will prevent something physically from happening to you. You can detour by being around people, being at the right place. But always remember, when they are aggressive, they don't give a damn who around. Because sometimes you have a great aura, you can have a beautiful aura, and people can be drawn into the beauty, not your physical appearance, your inner appearance. That aura draws attention to even the evil. People don't realize that. Why shit happens to them is because sometimes your aura is so bright, it draws even the negative energy towards you. It makes them desire you, or to try to deceive you. If they can bring you in, then they will. Just a thought.